Let's bring in our front bench. With me tonight, former New Brunswick Liberal Premier Brian Gallant. He's the CEO of Space Canada. Former Conservative Deputy Leader Lisa Raitt is here. She's the Vice Chair and Managing Director of Global Investment Banking at CIBC. CTV News political analyst and former NDP leader Tom Mulcair is with us, as is the Toronto Star's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Rob Benzie. Hi, everybody. It's good to see you. Brian, I'll start with you. We just spoke to Kelly Craft, who was the Trump ambassador during the first term of the U.S. president. And she was very specific about sort of look to what other countries have had to agree to even think about what, Canada might have to do, kind of more intimating that there's more ground we would have to cede to even arrive at some sort of reduction in the tariffs that do exist right now. What's the implication of that, do you think, for the Carney team?
I think she's Trump's ambassador on that panel as well. I mean, she was pretty firm and frankly, I think a bit ridiculous on some things. I was cringing listening to it. First off, I just want to say the idea that the U.S. can just bully everyone around. It's the largest economy, so can it bully people? Sure, that can happen. But the repercussions of that are important as well, right? The idea that the country that's supposed to be the leader of the free world is bullying everyone, I don't think sets us up very well for geopolitical tensions in the future. But anyways, that's not necessarily what we're all talking about, because we're all focused on the immediacy of the tariffs and sort of the economic implications. So second, for Carney and co going to Washington tomorrow, yeah, I mean, I think there's no question that the backdrop of all of this is the idea that they have been somewhat successful. Some countries have given in, and some countries have given some concessions or made promises of big investments. So that's the backdrop. Now, Canada is a different position because we are their most important trading partner. So we can certainly hurt them a little more if ever we want to stand our ground. And if it comes to that, more so than other countries would be able to. So that puts us a little bit in a different position. Also, I'd like to think, I'm not sure it's worth anything nowadays, but I'd like to think that Americans, the public, have a soft spot for Canada for many reasons. We don't have to all go through it in the panel here, but our history and our economic ties and even our family ties and the list goes on. So look, I think that is the backdrop, though, and I know you asked that question, and frankly, it's something that the Carney team's going to have to be wrestling with as they try to go to Washington tomorrow. Not sure they'll get a direct win out of the Oval Office. I'm not sure anyone ever does coming out of the Oval Office. But hopefully it builds ties, relationships, and the conversation keeps going in a positive direction.
Lisa, Brian's right that it is cringy and ridiculous that the idea that the U.S. could kind of bully everyone into the trading relationship it wants, but that is what's happened. Like, those countries that have arrived at deals with the United States have all agreed to base tariffs that they wouldn't have dreamed of a year ago. Like, Trump has, we don't have the weight of the world behind us. Only China levied any kind of counter tariff that's, commensurate in any fashion. We're the only other country that did. Like, what kind of negotiating position does that leave us in?
Everything that we've tried was wrong, it seems, because we seem to be in a bad position right now. And the Prime Minister going down to see Mr. Trump, it's going to be a difficult after discussion because Mr. Trump will take what he wants from it. He'll say that Mr. Carney is a very nice man and I like Mark, and he'll say all those lovely platitudes, but he's also going to point out once again that Canadian economy is hurting and that he's stealing business from us. And the reason why that is so difficult for us in Canada is it introduces uncertainty into investment in Canada. It's not just the tariffs, Vashi, that are hurting us. It's the fact that other companies are saying, what's next for you guys up there? What else is he going to do to you? And quite frankly, the risk associated with the uncertainty around Canada, we may as well just work with the United States directly. And that's the kind of impact it's having now. It's not just on the tariff industries, it's on everything that you could possibly think about. Just like the announcement today, 25% on medium and heavy duty trucks going into the United States. Tom Mulcair kindly explained to me what that was before we actually came to air. Before that, I didn't even know it was a possibility. So, expect the unexpected, but serious meeting. Trump's going to use it for his own purposes. And he's also going to try to spank us on foreign policy, tomorrow being October 7, which is a very difficult day for a lot of people in this world.
I think to Lisa's point, Tom, right? Like even you heard in those comments from Trump, they just happened right before we went to air, right? The thing he zeroed in on when it came to tariffs was the impact he says it is having on what Lisa just described, right? That companies are picking up and moving to the United States. It's not true in its entirety, but aspects of companies here, look at the auto sector, for example, are delaying operations that we're going to go ahead here and instead pursuing ones in the United States. What does that tell you about sort of the playing field tomorrow, and how risky is this politically for the Prime Minister, even if he doesn't have another choice but to go, obviously?
Yeah.
Right. And I do think that it shows that the Americans are very good at this game. They might have been a little bit rusty. We weren't always sure what Trump was going to be up to. But the question about those trucks, that zeroes in not just on a Canadian industry. It zeroes on a Canadian industry in Quebec at a very fraught time. For the votes of the federal Liberals in Quebec. The PACCAR factory, just north of Montreal, puts out all of the Peterbilt and the Kenworth trucks. It's a huge employer. These are great jobs. They pay super well. And what Trump was saying was, 20, 30 years ago, they used to build those factories in Canada, and now we're bringing them back. If I were working there, I'd be very afraid of what that meant, because it's true that that factory was built with tons of Quebec government money. It was brought in, and there was a whole tussle with other people that wanted it, and Quebec got it. And it's one of the very few things we have. The auto industry, right across the highway, there used to be a big GM plant. That's long gone. And so Ontario's got pretty well the whole industry. That's basically what's left in Quebec. And Trump zeroed in, without naming it, zeroed in on that idea. Over the weekend, we were so ham-fisted talking about the F-35s. Oh, well, we don't really have to buy them, as if that was the top of our threat list. And the person that we sent out to explain it, a junior minister of defense, had so much trouble getting anything out about the F-35s. If you're going to make a threat and you're going to get to the table with Trump, you better be darn sure that you're going to be able to play right through. I don't think that anybody in Washington cared one bit about what we were saying about the F-35s. We'll see what comes out of this meeting tomorrow, but I like Lisa's point that coming on October 7th, it might give Trump the occasion to talk about what Canada did, which, as far as the Americans were concerned, went against their best interests and those of Israel. I don't think they should overplay their hand, because Trump wants to be seen right now as the peacemaker, and he's still hoping, I guess, to get his Nobel. But for Canada right now, this is a very difficult time, and it's not getting easier. This all has to dovetail with the renegotiation of the Canada-U.S.-Mexico trade deal, Vashi, and anything that comes out of tomorrow's meeting, I think is going to have a hard time meeting that test.
I started the segment off, Benzie, by talking about that letter from the leader of the federal Conservatives, which kind of speaks to, in more general terms, the pressure here at home, right? The sort of political context here at home. There's what's going to happen there, but also how it plays here. Is it enough if nothing worse happens at the end of this meeting, if there aren't any additional tariffs, or there isn't, some throwing away of CUSMA to some degree? Or does the Prime Minister need to come back and say, I actually am able to reduce, let's say, steel and aluminum tariffs by half or something like that?
Yeah, he's going to have to show a deliverable at some point, Vashi. I mean, there was a lot of snark in Mr. Poilievre's letter. Understandably, he's the leader of the opposition. He lost an election because he didn't see the Trump issue, or his campaign didn't grasp how that was going to play. Carney exploited it successfully. But now Prime Minister Carney has to show why. Okay, Canadians said they trusted him to deal with Donald Trump. They have to see some results at some point. Now, the one thing, Vashi, that Canada has going for it is the U.S. consumer. American consumers are now facing 17.4% average tariffs on goods, according to the Yale Budget Lab, which is a nonpartisan think tank. That means the average U.S. household is spending $2,300 more than they did when Joe Biden was president on the same goods. So that means inflation's hitting. Under Biden, the average tariff was around 2%. So they're at 1935 levels. And that's good for Canada in the sense that there's going to be pressure on Mr. Trump, because it's his voters who are hurting the most. The kind of lower middle class, angry folks who felt that they weren't getting a good deal under Biden, well, they're paying a lot more for those goods and services now. But is it going to be enough to put pressure on Trump that he's going to cut Canada some slack tomorrow? I doubt it, but it's building. Mr. Trump's polling is not great. He's resorting to invading the cities of Chicago and Portland to distract attention from the fact the economy is not doing so great in the United States. So he can say all he wants about how factories are moving back there. That's just, there's a few, but it's not it's that that success is not being felt by the American consumer.